Hello. Hey, everybody.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Welcome to our webinar today. I'm going to give it just a few more seconds while we wait for more people to join. In the chat, how are you all doing today while we're waiting?
Come on, tell us. We got a happy
Smiley
face. Good.
Great. You? Oh, Brian and I were just talking about how we're a little low energy today. We don't know why.
Yeah. Sleepy. So sleepy for some reason.
Good. Looks like everyone's doing pretty well, looks like.
Oh, you have beautiful weather? Way to rub it in. It's nothing but rain here.
Same in Oregon. It's been really nice at the beginning of May, and then all of a sudden this week we just have a lot of rain and it's cold.
Yeah. Yes, Anthony, I was at Waste Expo last week. And the week before that, I was at the car wash show in Vegas. So I got 2 weeks back-to-back in Vegas.
We do need to go to Arizona and visit Josh.
Oh, Josh, what's up, man? I had a chance to chill with Josh for half the day at the car wash show 2 weeks ago. It was great.
Okay, well, it looks like we got more people joining. So without delay, let's go ahead and get started. So thank you all. Today's webinar is about aligning your maintenance to the business objectives. And just to go over a few things before we get started, if you have questions, you can see there's some icons, and on my screen, it's in the bottom right corner. It might be in the same location on yours, but there's a little circle with a question mark in it. And if you put your questions in there, then that separates them from the rest of the comments. And then at the end, when we do Q&A for the webinar, I'll be able to make sure we answer and address all those questions. Also, there's the chat feature, which is the little chat icon. I think we all know what that looks like with the 3 little dots in it. But that is what you guys are doing right now, is using the chat. And we are going to be asking some questions during the webinar. So the chat is the great place to answer that question. All right. So most of you have already posted here in the chat, but let us know where you are joining us from.
Oh, I see Greg Christensen's there. Had a long talk with him yesterday. I know where he's at. He's in old California, Tulsa, Wisconsin, Jersey. You're right up the street from me, Jane. New York, Alberta, another Wisconsin, some Hawaii, California. Oh, they're too fast. Trinidad and Tobago. I went to automotive school with two friends from Trinidad and Tobago. Texas, Illinois, Bermuda, DC. Okay. Normally we have a lot of Texas guys in there. I only saw one. Canada, Nambia. Oh, Annapolis. David, you're right down the road from me.
Yeah, I'm in Oregon. Normally we have a couple Oregon folks here, but I'm not seeing any.
Cody Krieger, he's Oregon, right?
Is he there?
I know Cody's in there. I'm here.
Okay.
Florida. All right. Got the whole squad.
Puerto Rico too. Awesome.
It's a ways.
Well, we really appreciate you all joining us from all over the United States and the world, actually. And we're excited that you're here. So today it's Brian and I speaking with you. Brian, do you want to give them a little introduction of yourself and tell us about your background?
Sure. I'm Brian. I've just been turning wrenches and leading maintenance teams for the last 20 years, from heavy equipment mechanic to Navy to maintenance manager to executive, head of maintenance, all those things. Built, standardized, created maintenance stuff, and led the teams. So go ahead, Amissa.
Okay, and my name is Amissa. I'm the senior marketing manager at Upkeep. I've been at Upkeep for a little over 3 years, and about 1.5 years ago, I got my CMRP. So I'm a certified maintenance and reliability professional, which helps me a little bit, even though I've never turned wrenches. I'm not going to lie. I have worked in an operational capacity at a manufacturing plant, so I know what it's like for operations and maintenance to work together. So I do have that experience, and I'm looking forward to the webinar. What's next, Brian?
All right.
Got the agenda. So today we're going to do an overview of our topic, just to level set with everybody. We're going to talk about some common challenges that come up when aligning your maintenance practices to the business objectives. Brian's going to go over his 9-step framework, so kind of a framework to follow to make sure you're aligning maintenance to the business objectives. And then he's going to go over some examples. And then, of course, we have time at the end for some Q&A as well. So be typing your questions in the question section so we can make sure we get all of those at the end.
Cool. All right. So making maintenance a business driver. So I just want to say this. There is no maintenance without a business. We don't have things to maintain. We don't have machines to acquire. We don't have things to decommission. We don't have whatever. All of that does not exist without a business. And the business stems from a need, right? So that business has goals. It has all these things that it wants to achieve, and it has outlooks into the future and all that stuff, right? So we just need to make sure that we understand that there is no maintenance without a business. So ensuring that our maintenance strategy is connected to business outcomes and business plans and all those things makes for a much more meaningful and impactful maintenance strategy. Okay. So here's our overview, right? I'm sure all of you know these things and you've heard it before. Why do we spend so much money on maintenance? It's just a cost. It's cost. While that is true to an extent, it can be very beneficial in creating revenue and being attached to revenue, right? If you have highly available machines, highly productive machines, highly capacity and utilized machines, it's likely that your output and your potential for sales and revenue and customer satisfaction will be higher. Therefore, you can generate more revenue. So that's the logic there. So we want to link all those efforts. We want to link the strategy, the productivity, the operational efficiency, everything to reduce operational risk. And how we do that is to understand the business and then align our maintenance with that business, right? So we want to contribute to the top of the line growth and have a competitive advantage. And just one note, I've literally been a part of organizations where our availability and production capacity solely was the reason that we got a deal against another manufacturer or customer, because they lacked the ability to consistently produce quality products. While they had a good product, their ability to produce it consistently was low. We had a good product and we were able to consistently produce a quality product at capacity. Therefore, they wanted to do business with the person who could maintain capacity as opposed to somebody who had varying capacity. I hope that makes sense. Okay, here's some common challenges, right? These are high level. Again, we can't be too specific because we are communicating with an audience that has varying maturity levels. So we're using general high level challenges, and also the 9 steps that I'm going to show you too are also very high level as well. Common challenges. Lack of cross-department communication. This is the biggest one. This is where maintenance says, we handle all the machines. Operations, you just run the machines. Don't talk to us. Don't tell us anything. Safety, you yell at us when we do something wrong, and so on and so forth, right? So we need to make sure that we are creating symbiotic relationships, but there is a massive disconnect between operations, maintenance, quality, all of those things. And, we silo the business and that's what we get, right? Or we have high ego leadership that doesn't think that there should be collaboration. So bad. It's super bad. We're all working towards a common fight or a common goal, and we have to be aligned. So that's a big one. That's a very big one. Insufficient data or poor CMMS utilization. Input any system, CMMS, substitute EAM, substitute MES, substitute SCADA, substitute whatever, right? The data that we get a lot of times is insufficient, or it's incomplete, or it is not the correct data. So we're not able to make good decisions on behalf of the business because we don't even know what the business is trying to do. So we lack insight to make decisions, right? And a lot of that has to do, surrounding performance and financial goals. Because as we said, maintenance is a driver of those things and can also be a detriment to those things. So we have issues with data. We'll talk about that. Cultural resistance to change. This stems from leadership. It stems from the way your business conducts itself. And, teams, they become accustomed to things. We are likely to do what we are rewarded for. You have a highly reactive department and they're firefighters and everything breaks and they get it back up in a certain amount of time. You're a hero. You've brought the machine back online, right? Well, that's a reward. You're being rewarded for being reactive, you know? The smarter thing would be like, we just maintain machines all day long. That's it. We do the necessary work needed to provide the outcome that we want. There's not very much glory in that, right? So we get resistant to change. We want to be rewarded. We want these things to reflect what we do. And we need to be able to communicate and have visible markers of change. So big three buckets here, right? They're not drilled down. They're very big. And I'm sure all of you in the chat and who are listening can draw some correlation between the three and something that's limiting your potential. Okay. Go ahead, Amissa.
All right, everybody. So now it's time for you to chime in. We went over some high-level challenges. We want to know what challenges you have faced when aligning your team with company goals. So go ahead and go over to the chat and type in some challenges that you faced, whether they're the same as the ones we already talked about or something different that we didn't address.
Yeah. And, generally we like to say like insert business here, company vision, something about sustainability, social impact, financial impact, customer service, right? There's all these things that businesses create to align themselves with an industry, right? And then ultimately, we as the maintenance department want to align ourselves with that business, right? Mm-hmm. Washington. Is he saying where he is, or is he saying that's the
I think he's saying where he is.
Funding limitations. Yeah, that's a huge one, right? How do we communicate the needs and then ultimately get money to do those things? Lack of communication, a huge one. Turnover is huge. Turnover, I don't have the context, Todd, but a lot of times turnover is cultural, right? People want to work for people who are enabling them and bringing out their best self. Communication, again, inconsistent. Yeah. Communication is a huge one. It just jacks everything up. Completely broken CMMS, Maximo. Maximo's been around a long time. It's just super complicated and it's not for everybody. Reluctant continuous improvement projects due to past experience with overpromising. Yeah. Poor leadership, right, Anthony? Not being able to communicate. Lack of adoption of a new CMMS. Training, on-site, off-site, at vendor. Yeah. Lots and lots of things that limit our potential with aligning our business with our maintenance. Mm-hmm. Bad CMMS. Dang. Veterans refusing to adopt technology. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a bunch of them. Leadership fails to stay engaged. Yeah, of course. Yeah. If you're not showing any kind of what we call quick wins with your CMMS, people lose trust and faith pretty quickly, right? Downtime to repair equipment, right? Not Band-Aids. Yeah, that's time. That's leadership, right? Pay me now, pay me later. All right. Ready to move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Okay. So we're going to talk about framework, like 9 things that we can investigate and we can leverage or we can use as conversation starters to evaluate where we are, right? I'm not saying this is the end all be all. I'm not saying this is set in stone and this is the only way to do it. There's all different kinds of ways to do it. This is 9 steps that'll get your gears turning, get you thinking, get your people in the room, start thinking about what do I have to do? Where do I need to go to get answers on creating value from my maintenance department that's in alignment with the bigger business, right? So keep that in mind. Okay, we got to understand our business goals. We have to actually know about our business. What is it? What are we out to do? What are we aiming to achieve? How is our business measured, right? Are we looking at cost reduction, output, safety, efficiency, customer satisfaction, uptime, asset life cycle, production capacity? Like, we have to know these things. So we need to talk to those people. We need to get people in the room, operations leadership, safety, quality, maybe the VP level, and say, hey, what are we after? What are we trying to do? What's our goal? It's so important. Like I said in the very beginning, there is no maintenance. There is no strategy to maintain if there is no business to support. So we have to understand our business. I'll give you just a quick story here. We deal with CMMS so much, right? Talk to CMMS prospects, customers, everything. They want us to solve their problems as a CMMS provider, but we need to know about your business to accurately prescribe some sort of product, solution, whatever, or even to understand, to make recommendations. But a lot of people don't even understand their business. They're looking at it with blinders on. I must keep machine repaired, right? As opposed to this machine needs to be repaired because A, B, C, and D, and it connects to the bigger business. Okay. Business is key. Okay. What are our asset management goals, right? We want to determine the criticality of our assets. We want to identify risky things that directly impact the business goals that we just talked about. So we want to rank our assets based on the impact to production, the missed opportunity, the safety, compliance, cost, all the things when identifying the goals of your business are going to have a problem there, right? We want to focus on high probability, high impact, and low probability, high impact, right? So there's all these different risk measurements that we can look at and the types of machines and types of risks that we're willing to accept. But we got to look at it from the lens of our bigger business, which is why step one is know your business, right? Maintenance objectives. What kind of maintenance goals are we looking for? What things are eating our lunch? What are the problems that we're having? What are the vision of the future for our business that we need to get stuff and ducks in order now so that we can support that scale of the business later? So do we want to improve uptime? Do we want to reduce downtime? Same thing, right? Extend asset life. Do you want to control maintenance costs, right? What are we trying to do? So we got to know our business to know how critical things are to support those business objectives. And then what are the goals of those assets and what are we trying to do with them? Okay. We got to look at what we're doing. We don't know where we can go unless we know where we are, right? You type in Google Maps. It doesn't just say, go here. It says, where are you? And then I'll take you there from where you are. Okay. So we have to assess our maturity. Are we pen and paper? Are we using a whiteboard? Are we using a cardboard for different jobs, right? What are we doing? We have to understand the gap there to where we'd like to be in the support of the 2 steps prior. So we're going to look at our current maintenance practices. Are we mainly reactive? Are we doing some good preventive maintenance? Have we tried to step into condition monitoring, right? So what are we doing? And then we analyze our past, present performance, right? How reliable are our machines in relation to their inherent reliability? What kind of performance metrics do we have, right? Are we identifying reoccurring failures? What are our maintenance costs? And where are we inefficient? I'm going to go out on a limb and say where most of you are inefficient is manpower capacity and being able to schedule and plan their work. That's probably where you're mostly inefficient. And I don't even know half of you, but that's probably the biggest thing that we find the most of, right? So essentially, big picture, we got to know where we are as it relates to how mature we are as a maintenance function. And we have to understand the past and present performance of our assets. Okay, let's talk about strategies. How do we get there, right? So when we're looking at the business and we're looking at all these big picture items, what vehicle, i.e. strategy, is going to get us to where we are? Are we going to, most of the time you're going to adopt all of these, right? You just have to because there's not one set and forget, right? We're going to go heavy on preventive maintenance. We're planning and scheduling and kitting parts and understanding of manpower capacity and working with operations, right? All those things. We're going to dabble in some condition-based maintenance. Maybe we have highly risky assets that whose life risks to technicians or people who need to go and do that work or monitor that thing or climb a ladder well or go in a confined space. Or maybe the asset's just that critical that we need to be annotated of anomalies well ahead of a potential failure mechanism, right? And of course, big picture, reliability-centered maintenance, which is the vehicle essentially of defect elimination. And if you stay tuned next webinar, we're going to talk a lot about defect elimination. So keep that in mind. Critical assets and process. Of course, we talked about that before, right? We want to focus on the biggest impacts to the business, right? And we want to align those maintenance activities and minimize disruptions. You notice that I'm not saying eliminate because it's not realistic. We want to minimize risk. We want to reduce variability. It's not realistic to say we're going to stop all these things. And the reason I say that is because talking about cultural changes within your business, we tend to talk about these absolutes, and people doing the work see the reality of your business and go, how the heck are we supposed to stop downtime? Right? So it's a psychological thing. We want to say, hey, we want to reduce it. We want to identify this and we want to mitigate this. It's a much more consumable way of explaining your processes and where you want to be. Okay. Prioritize critical assets. We talk about that. Yep. Incorporate risk management. Everything we do in maintenance is about risk. Everything. You can say preventive, you can say corrective, you can say reactive, you can say condition-based maintenance, you can say safety, you can say all of it's risk. We're managing risk. Risk is associated with all facets of the business. And we need to be able to identify the risks and how to mitigate them. And then our strategies are going to ensure that that business continuity, travels forward, which is why it's so important to bring people into the process from steps 1 to 4. Got to talk to people. We got to know what people are thinking. We have to know their goals. I think I've said this in other webinars, and I'm going to say it again. Don't let somebody's priority of today derail the bigger business's priority. All of you know exactly what I'm saying. And the example is this. You get a call from an operations supervisor, manager, whatever, say, this machine is down. I need it fixed immediately, blah, 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 blah. But because you're connected to the bigger business and the operational team, that's not actually the priority. The priority is X, Y, and Z. So are you going to pull all of your technicians off of their routine work to go fight this fire that's actually not important just because someone else wants you to and it's their priority? I don't think so. That's where that culture, that leadership, and that communication comes into play. Keep that in mind. I know all of you have in your head, you're thinking of a scenario where that has happened. Okay. Step 5, let's align the KPIs. I'm not a huge fan of drilling KPIs into people's heads, but it is important to be aware of them and to know what is meaningful to measure. Because a lot of times we get measurement overload where it's like somebody says, you got to measure all these things and you're measuring all these things. And the input to measure those things is not proportional to the output of actual risk management, success, maintenance strategy, whatever. Okay. So just examples. These are obvious ones, right? We're looking at OEE. We're looking at MTBF. We're looking at MTTR. Maintenance cost per unit produced, super good one. Replacement asset value, another super good one. And then, of course, safety incident rates, right? There's a lot of, compliance things that want to look at safety. Safety is directly proportional to a highly productive, reliable plant. Keep that in mind. Targets. This is a huge one. Greg Christensen and I think we talked about this last night. Set realistic targets. Stop making up stuff. Stop saying you're going to be 100% compliant. You're going to have 0 downtime. You're going to have it's just not real. You have to have realistic KPIs that reflect both your maintenance and business performance expectations. You can't just go, I'm the CEO of this company. I made this thing. It's the best. And we're going to be 100% compliant with our customer sales forever into perpetuity forever. Doesn't make sense, right? We need to have real expectations. We need to plan and schedule work to the true expectations and capacity of our team, our spare parts inventory, our operational schedules, right? We want to be real. And establish reasonable timelines that actually account for your team's ability. Too aggressive could be detrimental to your cultural change. Again, don't kick people to the curb because you want 100% of something and it's just not a real thing. We all want to strive to that, but we have to have stepping stones and they need to be rooted in reality. All right. We'll get to that. No, I'm not going to answer that right now. Okay. Step 6, action. Action is a force multiplier, and action is generally what separates leadership from poor leadership, good leadership from poor leadership. What's your execution plan? Get people in the room, outline key activities, resources, schedules for implementing your chosen strategies, plural, because you can't just live on one. Assign champions. That's so important. Look, if you got somebody who's super good at communicating with the operation and, knowing about your spare parts management, make him a planner, right? Leverage that skill set and shuffle things up. We've got to be opportunistic in ensuring that the things that we'd like to achieve at scale are manageable, what we're trying to do here. So champions are super important. Make champions of all different types of processes that you would like to achieve. Of course, resource planning. You can't be doing anything if you don't know what you have. You've got to know what you have for manpower. You have to know spare parts. You have to know contractor availability. Do I have to have specialized tooling or skill sets for these things, right? So we want to ensure these resources are in line with the business financial planning and constraints. Yeah, and I put here, keep in mind for outsourcing if it was required, right? You need to bring in cranes. You need to do all the, mobilize equipment. You need to do all these things, right? So you need to be looking ahead. You need to be ensuring that you're talking to all the right people. And I put that in here because financial constraints are always a big one. It's like, oh, you planned the turnaround to cost this much money, and then now you want this much money. Well, yeah, because there's a year between when I planned it and when we're actually doing it, and 3 things have happened since then. So, we got to adjust. Training and development, very meaningful and impactful for your business, right? If your team doesn't know where they fit or what they should be doing, they're less likely to be a part of that action plan. If you bring them into the process and you explain them, even hold their hand for a bit to show them the right things that they need to be doing and teach them the right way, and then have them teach other people, and you have a chain of accountability with that training, it's amazing. It's an unlimited effect. And it really is what's going to stand that test of growth through your business, is making sure that people are there to act and to do the things that need to be done effectively and efficiently. Okay, of course, this is one, right? We can't remember everything in our head. We want to leverage technology. We want to use a CMMS, an EAM, computerized maintenance management system, or enterprise asset management to track your maintenance activities, right? Whether it's KPIs, it's performance, it's cost, it's anything. It's limitless. And the CMMS you use is arbitrary, right? There are good ones for certain things, and some have other features that you might like, or some might have support that's better than other companies or whatever. It's really arbitrary, right? We just want to create visibility in the business. We want to know how we will be measured, which is generally very similar to the way the business is measured, which is why we talk about this, right? This is business alignment. Data analytics, and Amissa convinced me to leave predictive technologies in here, okay? But we want to implement predictive maintenance tools. And what I mean by predictive maintenance tools, I mean condition monitoring. I mean sensor technology. We can say AI and machine learning. They're basically the same thing as of right now. We want to mitigate failures, right? We want to use technology to our advantage. We want technology to enable us and what we do, and to look at the blind spots of our business or of our department. And, I know every maintenance leader on here has that one thing or that one machine or person in their business that keeps them up at night. When you're thinking about those things that keep you up at night, we should be looking at how do we mitigate the most amount of risk associated with that thing with the least amount of input. Because I know when I was managing several facilities, 24 hours a day, everything, there were certain things in my mind like, oh God, I hope nothing happens with this one thing. Or, oh geez, I hope this guy shows up to work, right? Whatever. You guys get what I'm saying. No, okay. Big note here. Notice how this is after everything else. What I mean by that is you don't just go, I'm buying a CMMS. I don't know anything about my business. I don't know anything about asset criticality. I don't know anything about maintenance strategies. I don't know anything about my team. I don't know anything about whatever. No, that's not how this works. You will fail, very likely. We need to know about all these things before we start fooling with technology, because the real value is driven from the steps prior to this one. This is just a way for us to create that history and that visibility into the business, because we're just one person or 5 people. We can't remember everything we've done, right? Okay. You guys get what I'm saying. Monitor and improve. What is the point of doing all these things and then not understand where you are and not course correct? Because there's always room for improvement. There's always an optimization tactic or strategy that can happen. And the reason I say always is because the business generally is ever changing, and you're going to have to pivot. And being able to monitor and have that historian and understand the things that you're measuring allows you to pivot and know where you should go, right? It's course correction. So we want to monitor our KPIs. We want to track them, compare them with the business, ensure we have alignment there. And, we need to course correction if needed. Course correct sooner rather than later. I'll say it again. Course correct sooner rather than later. The more data that you're pushing into your system that is not valuable, you can't really take it away, right? And then doing mass changes to those past things is also a super pain. So be in tune with the business, with the operation, with all these different interdepartmental things. And when they see changes in there, review how they will affect your KPIs from a maintenance standpoint and course correct soon. Review, right? We want to have meetings. We want to assess the effectiveness of the maintenance strategy. Are we doing the right things in the eyes of the other departments or the other business? Maybe you are doing all the right things, but they don't see how it's impactful. Maybe it's small, progressive change that they're not seeing big impacts in the uptime of the machines or the availability or whatever. Communicate with them, meet with them, show them the data that you've been collecting to say, hey, look, our reactive work has come down 5% over the last 3 months. Yes, that is small, but we are moving in the right direction. And this is how you can help. And this, hey, how can we further help you, operations, right? We have to create that relationship. And those meetings help that. Open and often feedback from these teams, super important. People need to be able to say, hey, man, I don't know how this works, or I don't know where we've seen the value here. What can you explain this to me? Yes, of course. Come with me. Let's go look. Let's go talk. Let's look at the data. Let's bring other people in. Let's do all those things. And then continuous improvement, right? Like we said earlier. If you're doing all this work, you might as well make improvements on top of it, right? Identify those gaps and deviations from all the prior steps, and then improve your maintenance strategy. Stay aligned with your evolving business goals. There's no end game. I guess to say, like, there's no end game in maintenance or in reliability. It's an ever evolving, continuous improvement process. There is never an end. If someone says, I've mastered maintenance and reliability, you're a liar, because it always changes. There's always a variable because people are involved. And I've said this before, we're the biggest variables. Okay, communicate and collaborate. My favorite, engage stakeholders. Keep all stakeholders, including maintenance teams, production managers, senior leaders, informed about maintenance objectives, strategy, and encourage their feedback. Those of you who don't like being told what to do or don't like being told you jacked yourself up or you mess this up, sit down. We all mess stuff up. We all do the wrong things. It happens. If someone is providing you with constructive professional feedback, take that feedback and look at it. We need to be introspective. We need to understand where our limitations are. Maybe it's just something the way that we're leading our team. Maybe it's something super big, like we just totally missed that writing a failure mode identifying inspection or service for this one critical piece of machinery. Own it. Own the things, right? Take the feedback, talk to people, and do the right things. No one will ever be mad at you for taking ownership and then trying to course correct. Cross-functional, again, I'm saying it again, encourage collaboration between maintenance, operations, finance. You have to. If you're a maintenance manager, the operations manager should be your best friend. The finance team should be your best friend. The procurement and quality manager should be your best friend. There should be no strife or bickering or bullshit like with any of those people. Yes, you're going to have disagreements, but we come to agreements through communicating and by showing a value stream that is equal for all parties. And ultimately, if you're performing strong, solid maintenance, you're working in the best interest of those departments, assuming that that maintenance is in alignment with the bigger holistic business goals that are encouraging and driving all those other departments. I can't say that enough. I've consulted for so many customers where it's like, I'm the maintenance manager, I'm the operations manager. I don't even talk to that dude. They're all jacked up. They're reactive. They never know what's going on, and all they do is point fingers all day long. So get with your operations manager. Say, hey, man or woman or whatever, let's go to lunch today. Let's talk. Let's just settle. Let's settle this and see where we can be better and come together and do the right things. I cannot stress that enough. It is like one of the biggest problems in our industry. Okay. Here's an example of alignment in practice. General example. Again, we sometimes we get like, that doesn't apply to me. Like, of course it doesn't. These are big picture things. Okay. Here's our business goal. We want to increase production by 15% within the next year. So our maintenance objectives, we're starting to think about, okay, how do I reduce unplanned downtime by 20%? I want to improve overall equipment effectiveness by 10%. So overall equipment effectiveness is your quality performance and your reject rate, right? So you're looking at how often are things not going the way you want? What capacity do your machines have? Are we doing the right things? Are we getting death by 1,000 cuts? All that. So here's our strategy, right? We want to implement a condition-based maintenance program for critical machinery that aims at failure modes. So we're actually looking for potential failures. We're not just saying we're going to maintain this machine because manufacturer A says we do it every 3 months, right? You're probably wasting your resources. and invest in your CMMS and PM optimization and provide training and condition monitoring techniques. PM optimization there is key because we should be performing maintenance and modifying the way we perform that maintenance and what we do in those maintenance tasks to reflect the reality of what we're finding on a day-to-day basis. Condition monitoring is super good for that, right? And our KPIs are track equipment downtime. If we can track overall equipment effectiveness, we will. We can certainly track mean time between failure and cost per hour of downtime. We could also do cost per unit produced as well, right? Okay. The example shows that a well-functioning condition-based strategy can increase uptime by intervening with critical machines not intervening with critical machines unless necessary. So my example there of we're just maintaining machines because X manufacturer says every 3 months we need to do this. Why? Are we even uncovering any issues? Are we generating corrective work from this work? So we don't want to just unnecessarily take machines down for no reason, right? And then physical intervention, we're moving to operational condition monitoring. So this creates a lot of alignment with operations and ultimately the bigger business. Production can keep on plugging away, and we can leverage techniques to monitor those machines either remotely or with visual inspection criteria or whatever. So we're allowing the machines to operate in their context, and then we are monitoring that context for anomalies. And then the CMMS is a key part of success as it creates the window to look at your success and your failure. We're using it. We're tracking the downtime. We're tracking the failure modes. We're tracking the work order counts and the type of work. We're looking at all those things. So we'll be able to see, is what we're doing effective or not? Closing thoughts. All right. Strategic alignment transforms maintenance from a cost center into a value driver, directly impacting uptime, efficiency, and business growth, right? Again, no maintenance or no business, no maintenance. No strategic maintenance, no business growth, because all your money is being consumed on fixing stuff that should have been fixed forever instead of forever fixing, right? Success depends on clear goals, cross-functional collaboration, and data-driven execution, supported by the right tools and continuous improvement. Talk to people. Bring people in. Create relationships. You will be amazed at how far those relationships go. Not just from a headache standpoint with dealing with people you might not want to deal with, but just getting the leeway to do the work that you'd like to do. Because sometimes those relationships can help you tremendously in that respect. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, so if you guys have any lingering questions, I see there's already a few in there. We'll get to those in a second. But if you have any questions, go ahead and pop them in the questions feature. We do have enough time to probably hit them all. One little plug while we're waiting for people to ask more questions. Today, we actually launched and released live Volume 2 of our Asset Operations book. So that's a book that was written by our CEO, Ryan Chan. The original copy of Asset Operations was written about 3 or 4 years ago, and he just refreshed it. And so it has new relevant information to maintenance, operations, and reliability as exists today. And they are doing a really big promotion on it today. So I'm going to post a link here in the chat, but if you go to this landing page and sign up, we're giving away 1,000 signed copies for free of the new book. Some of you may already have the original one, but we're giving away the first 1,000 people are going to get a free copy, and it's going to be signed by Ryan Chan. So if you want to get one of those books, go to the landing page, the website page. I just put the link to it in the chat. You can go there and just enter your information, and then we'll send you one. And then, yeah, Greg has a plug here. Brian is going to be on CMMS radio panel discussion at Reliable Plant. He's wondering if any of you are going to go there. Maybe you can respond to him in the chat. We like to participate in things going on with the Reliable Plant events.
Yeah, Cody.
Okay.
I see Cody at Reliable Plant in the last 2 years, right? Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, let's get into some questions.
All right.
Todd said, will you please send out an email with this webinar? He's going to miss some of it. We will send you an email that has a recording in it. If you want the deck or some other kind of information, then email me directly and I can get that information to you. I put my email in the chat a couple times. So if there's any other resources you're needing, or even if, like, say you're an existing customer and you have questions about how to use your Upkeep account to better align with business objectives, like, feel free to reach out to me and I can get you in connection with the right person that can help you utilize Upkeep for that. But yes, email me if you need additional resources. And then Chris said, what about business loss? Oh, because we were talking about KPIs. So he's wondering, what if the KPI of business loss from system downtime as a KPI, like maybe reducing that, sounds like. So what are your thoughts about that, Brian?
Like I said, there's so many KPIs you can measure, right? There's all different types of things. But what you're referring to, I like to call missed opportunity. So it's the opportunity for you to generate revenue based on a current order or future orders based on the performance of your current orders, right? So I don't know what type of business you're in, but you can certainly track that if you have ways to track batches of like production runs of how many units or things you're supposed to create or make and how many you do. And then you look at the downtime within that same time window, and then you can base it off of that. So I like to call that missed opportunity. And that's for current things that you're producing and also the business trust and potential for more opportunity based on what you're currently doing. So if you're doing stuff and you're constantly missing your customers' fulfillment, they're going to be like, God, these guys can't keep up. I'm not going to do any more business with them, right? So that's why we call it missed opportunity.
Another thing I was thinking about that too, though, is that obviously that's a KPI that can be used, but like we're talking about in this webinar, is that a meaningful KPI for what the business objectives are?
So of course. Yeah. If your business objectives are like, we need to increase customer retention or we need to increase customer fulfillment, then yeah, you want to look at those KPIs, right? That's why maintenance cost per unit produced is a really good KPI, because it literally tells you how much maintenance expenditure is going into the cost of that product that you're creating. So that's a good one too.
Mm-hmm. And then Mike asked if the presentation will be shared. So I'll say it again, you will be emailed the recording, but if you would like the physical like PDF presentation, email me and I will send it to you. And my email is in the chat. I posted it in there a couple times. Giles, will they send the book to Canada? Yes. So go ahead and go to that landing page and fill out the form. And then yes, we will send you the book. And then Greg, can you speak a bit on where things go wrong when making this overall process, implementing the 9 steps, overly complex?
Hold on. Let me read the question.
Okay.
Can you speak a bit on where things go wrong when making this overall process? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I know you've heard me say this, Greg, but a lot of times people overly complicate things that they don't understand. And that's why it's so important, just fundamentally, just to get your feet under you with the business. You can't really dispute the business goals. It's not like people at plant A can be like, you know what? I don't think the business goals are what the business goals are. I think they should be this. And then you start going in that direction, right? So you have to cut through all that and actually get to the core of what the objectives are. And if you don't get to the core of what the objectives are, things are going to get overly complicated. You're going to have miscommunication, mismatched performance and action on certain things. You're going to be fighting each other. One person's going to be doing this, thinking that they're doing the right thing. Another person's going to be doing this, thinking they're the right thing. So as I always say, you got to go back to the core understanding of what are these things? What are the actionable actions and things that need to be done from a business perspective? Then align yourself with those. If you don't do that, well, then you're going to have a bunch of mismatched stuff and everyone's going to be going in the wrong direction. So overly complicating things from lack of communication and lack of true understanding.
What's this? Let's see. I see a question in the chat.
I saw a bunch of pop up.
Curtis was asking about specific information relating to past webinars and this webinar, but then later said emailed recording is perfect. So okay, so
don't the webinars get posted on the website too?
Yeah. So after every webinar, an automatic email goes out with the recording. We also take the recording and post it on our website. So the same page that you went to sign up and register for the webinar, now the recording is available on that page. So you can watch it there. And then, of course, I'm happy to help any of you out with connecting you with those resources by emailing me as well.
Andrew said, how do I investigate common issues over time and create PMs? All right. So you use your task fail automated workflows. If your CMMS has them, they're wonderful. So you write your PMs, right? Every PM has a task list, a detailed task list of the step-by-step things that you should be doing, investigating with what good looks like, what bad looks like, pictures, whatever. And I'm going to harp on the word you said here, common issues. So if you understand that there's common issues happening over time, you should be optimizing and modifying your PMs to address those common issues. And you're addressing the tasks in which need to be completed to incorporate those common issues. And then over time, you'll start to see the corrective work generation either increase or decrease based on the way you're modifying your PMs. I hope that wasn't too complicated. But
can you give like maybe a simple example?
Yes. So I'm going to keep it very simple. We run a business inspecting tires. Okay. That's all we do. We inspect tires. Tires come in, they're inflated, underinflated, have certain types of wear, mounted wrong, whatever. And this month we're seeing a tremendous amount of tires that are mounted wrong. And because we're so familiar with the way they're mounted, we find out that it's actually the mounting machine guide is wearing, and it's causing the tires to be mounted incorrectly. Well, if we know this is a common issue, we should change the PM for the tire machine to inspect that guide, and at a certain wearing point, we replace that piece. Therefore, once it gets to a threshold to where it starts to, it's the potential to have a failure is there, we replace it. We mitigate the risk altogether. Does that make sense? But you won't know that unless you're actually investigating the issues and generating the corrective work. So our corrective work orders from our PM task would say, misaligned or mismounted tire, need to replace guide from tool or whatever, right? You have to have those points in time to understand what's happening. So the automated workflows for generating corrective PMs is super important. And it all starts with your tasks. If you haven't seen our task creation webinar, I strongly advise you to check that out.
Okay, cool. I'm not seeing any other questions. I don't think we may have missed some, but I think we got them all.
Let's see.
Any other last burning questions before we end the webinar?
David said, you said all type of maintenance are risk. Yes, there's risk in every type of maintenance. You cannot get rid of risk. It does not exist. Yeah, I don't see any more either. Oh, wait. What successful tips for maintenance engineer who works on the shop floor day to day? Be humble and create as many other maintenance engineers as you possibly can. And I don't mean by title. I mean by action. All the technicians that you interact with on a day-to-day, show and teach them everything that you know. Your job will become immensely easy because you're going to have a bunch of maintenance engineers working on your behalf and wanting to do the right things. And then you will also grow and learn because you're creating and building strong relationships that are rooted in trust and reality. That's my tip for you.
There was one more question that popped up, which I think is a good one. How do you determine when an asset needs to be replaced after so many corrective actions?
So you're going to look at something called replacement asset value, which is what is the current value of the machine if you were to sell it or buy a new one or however you want to decide, and how much are you spending in corrective and reactive work. And that includes the man hours, the contractor labor, the spare parts, the downtime associated, all that cost adds up. If it gets to the point where it's a percentage of the replacement value that you're not comfortable with, just buy a new one. It's not worth maintaining a machine at the tune of $50,000 a year when a new machine is $60,000. Buy a new one every year.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions. So we are going to end a little early. We really appreciate you all taking the time to be here. We're always hoping that we're providing value and helping the industry grow together. And yes, email me if you have any questions. Otherwise, we will probably see you all next month at our next webinar.
Thanks, guys. We always appreciate you
Bye.
coming. We remember, trust me, we remember everybody who comes. See you guys.